Iran naming its new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. He's the son of the late supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I want to bring in CNN's Jeremy Diamond, who is standing by in Tel Aviv as we get this breaking news. Jeremy, what are you hearing from your sources?
Yeah, Jessica, this is just in from Iran's Assembly of Experts. This is the body of senior Iranian clerics responsible for electing the next supreme leader. And they have now chosen, just over a week after the assassination of the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, they have chosen his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, as his successor. He is a 56-year-old who is known for having close ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And he will, in large part, his selection here will in large part be viewed as a continuation of his father's rule, and quite a hardline kind of stance for this Iranian body of experts to be choosing as the next supreme leader of Iran. The two other candidates who had been in the running to potentially be named as the next supreme leader were viewed as the more moderate candidates, and so clearly these senior Iranian clerics choosing to kind of continue the legacy of the Ayatollah Khamenei, who ruled for decades in Iran, by choosing another Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei. Interestingly, he was also apparently among the individuals who were targeted in those opening Israeli strikes last Saturday, which saw the killing of the former supreme leader as well as dozens of other senior Iranian officials. Mojtaba Khamenei was wounded in that strike, according to reports. His wife was also killed in that very same strike. So now we see the direction that Iran is heading in the wake of the assassination of the longtime supreme leader. It's also important to note that this is someone who President Trump has said would be unacceptable to him in terms of leading Iran in the future. The president had said in an interview with Axios a few days ago that Mojtaba Khamenei was a, quote, lightweight, and that choosing him was unacceptable, that this would be viewed as something that would kind of continue the direction of Iran. President Trump, of course, has said that he would like to have a say in the future direction of Iran, kind of likening this to the same scenario that just happened in Venezuela. But we are watching as this, very heavily ingrained system in Iran that has ruled the country for decades is remaining in power and electing another Khamenei as its next leader.
All right, Jeremy, I want you to please stand by. We're going to come back to you. I do want to go to Fred Pleiken, our colleague who is in Tehran. Fred, what are you hearing about this, the new supreme leader?
Hi there, Jessica. Well, this announcement was made, I would say, about 20 minutes ago on Iranian state TV. It was a very low-key announcement. It was basically read out. They broke into their newscast. And to give you a sense of what happened there on Iranian state TV, there were still screens that showed some gatherings that are happening in the night. What's going on right now during these times of these combat operations, that there are nighttime vigils going on in several Iranian cities. And some of the people who were at those vigils were seen to start cheering as the new supreme leader, Ayatollah Sayyid Mojtaba Khamenei, was announced as the new supreme leader, third supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. There was a statement also from the Council of Experts that they had gone through thorough deliberations as they put that apparently the decision on Mojtaba Khamenei as the new supreme leader was actually made today. Obviously, the announcement coming today as well. And of course, people who were on that council of experts very much aware of the fact that this announcement comes at a time that's very difficult for the Islamic Republic of Iran. Jeremy alluded to some things that have been going on, obviously also some of the words that came from U.S. President Donald Trump. Nevertheless, they said that these deliberations were very thorough. They believe that Mojtaba Khamenei was the best candidate to take over from his late father, and obviously continue some of the policies of his late father as well. And just to give you an idea, Mojtaba Khamenei is 56 years old. He was born in Mashhad, which is, of course, in the east of Iran, which is one of the main holy cities here in Iran. One of the main shrines is there. He went to religious seminary, however, in Qom, which is another a major religious city, a holy city, which is not very far from here in Tehran. So certainly they have to be religious credentials for this position. He's also, if it were to be categorized, definitely more in the camp of the hardliners. He has good connections to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So clearly, what the Council of Experts has done is it's opted for a continuation of the policies, the ideology, of course, also of his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who, of course, was killed a couple of days ago in an airstrike here in Tehran. So if anything, it is going to be continuity for everything that is going to lead also as this armed conflict continues and as that standoff, of course, also with the U.S. and the Trump administration continues as well.
Okay, Fred Pleitgen live from Tehran. Fred, thank you so much for that reporting. I believe we also have Clarissa Ward standing by in Erbil, Iraq. Clarissa, obviously, the question now is what might the new Ayatollah mean for Iran's actions moving forward? Obviously, they have been striking where you are in Erbil and been trying to strike U.S. air bases as well. What more can you tell us?
Well, Jessica, I think this comes as a surprise to nobody. It has been speculated now for a few days that Mojtaba Khamenei would indeed be announced as the new supreme leader. The real question here is, what will be the response of President Donald Trump? What will be the response of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? The Israelis have previously made it clear that he would not be a palatable choice for them because he is absolutely a sign of the continuation of the old guard, of the hardliners. He has a close relationship with the IRGC, a close relationship with the besieged paramilitary voluntary force. He was sanctioned by the U.S. in 2019. And I think something else that's very striking, just talking to some Iranian sources and contacts in the diaspora, is that many Iranians have barely ever heard this man speak. This is somebody who has largely been in the shadows, even though he was known to be powerful and wielding a lot of influence in the background. He is not what you might say a familiar face on Iranian televisions or a familiar voice. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the response is from the U.S. and Israel, and what kind of comments we may hear from him, and what that portends for the direction that this conflict is taking. Certainly, a lot of people will not be feeling overly optimistic about this, depending on which side of this war they sit on. Here in the region, there is just a desperate desire, Jessica, for everybody to try to find some kind of a diplomatic off-ramp. We have seen a steady stream of attacks across the entire Gulf, here in Iraq, where there are now real tensions between the Kurdish leaders, between the government in Baghdad. We heard the Iranian president just yesterday saying, you know what, we apologize for these attacks and they're not going to happen anymore. And within moments, we saw a drone hit the Dubai airport. And those attacks have continued in today. A big strike in Kuwait, hitting a ministry, a 22-floor building engulfed in flames. Fortunately, no one died. In Bahrain, a desalination plant was hit. And it's clear that people in the region and leaders in the region are getting increasingly frustrated and running out of road in terms of holding this position of trying to be patient, to not allow things to escalate. We heard the leader of the United Arab Emirates yesterday, in very rare comments, really issuing a stern rebuke, calling Iran the enemy. That's not language that we have heard before. And also saying that that the Iranian government should not confuse the restraint and the patience at this stage of the United Arab Emirates for weakness. So I think for many, this will be seen potentially as an ominous sign that this conflict is going to continue to escalate, Jessica.
Yeah, and Iran had hoped that in striking some of those goal states that perhaps they would then turn around and put pressure on the U.S. and Israel. As you note, that has not happened just yet. Clarissa, I think a lot of people, too, we hear regime change a lot. We have heard that certainly from Benjamin Netanyahu. He's been quite clear about that being an objective for the Israelis. The U.S. and President Trump have talked about it, but not made it a clear objective when they listed out from the Pentagon. What might this mean, naming Mojtaba Khamenei as the new supreme leader? What might that mean in that conversation?
Well, let's think about what President Trump has said. In the beginning, he talked about Iranian people take to the streets, take your country back. Then he seemed to row that back a little bit and say, no, we're focused on 3 strategic objectives, the nuclear sites, the missiles, Iran's navy. Then he talked again about people taking to the streets and taking their country back. And then he has talked a few times about the success in his eyes of the Venezuela model and Delcy Rodriguez and how well that has worked out. Well, you can be pretty sure, Jessica, and I'm not an Iran expert, but still, I think it's safe to speculate that Mojtaba Khamenei is not going to be a Delcy Rodriguez model, by which I mean he will not be a candidate or a supreme leader who can be pragmatic and work with the U.S. and Israel and effectively be some kind of a puppet while still maintaining the sort of cohesion of the regime within Iran. So this is clearly a rebuke to President Trump in that sense, and it remains to be seen how the U.S. president will respond, Jessica.
Yeah, it certainly does. All right, Clarissa, thank you so much for that reporting.